and this is the continuation of our topic about entrepreneurship. These are the same guidelines that you need to follow in order to understand this presentation more. And our topic is about types of buyer and seller relationship. Reference, Home Economics and Livelihood Education 6, pages 4 to 5. Before we start our lesson, let us first have a recap of what we have discussed last time. What are the duties of a seller? So the duties of the seller are make a fair business with buyers, deliver goods with proper care on time to the place of delivery, and provide warranty for the product sold to the buyer. How about the rights of a seller? Receive the right payment for the amount agreed upon for the item sold, be able to collect for securing against loss or damage of goods brought by the buyer, and get the goods back when the buyer fails to pay. There are two types of buyer and seller relationship. Number one is the short-term relationship. That means one-time shallow commitment purchases. This means one-time buying from a seller or one-time selling to a buyer. One-time business transaction. And the next one is long-term relationship. It involves regular purchases based on an agreement that had been established for purchases lasting for a long period of time. This only means regular business transaction between the seller and the buyer due to trust and contract. And here are the advantages of short-term relationship. Number one, gives the buyers the option to go from one supplier to another for their next purchase. This advantage benefits the buyer more because the buyer can choose among different suppliers in the market. The buyer can evaluate the product and the deals of each and every supplier and decide where to buy the items. Number two, creates high-level competition to provide more opportunities for price discounts and special deals. This creates competition among the sellers and suppliers to get the deal with the buyer. This benefits the buyer more by getting more discounts and special deals. Each and every seller or supplier has their own way, their own strategy or technique to offer their products or items. The buyer must be wise in order to get the best deals. And these are the disadvantages of short-term relationship. 1. It provides little scope for payment and order flexibility. This means that the relationship of the buyer and the seller generates a little amount of money or sales. The order is flexible when it comes to payment, the quantity, and the number of items per category. Number 2. Ask for a definite order and prompt payment by a new supplier. This only means that the order of items is definite and the exact amount, and also the payment is real-time. Number 3, has no trust built over time between the buyer and the seller. Why? Because one single transaction does not develop trust and bond. It is not built overnight. You don't trust someone you meet once, do you? Number 4, reduces opportunity to share market information. The suppliers and the sellers do not trust the regular buyers. When it comes to the data and important techniques in the market, they are not sharing those things to the new buyers especially. And here are the advantages of a long-term relationship. 1. Build stronger buyer and seller relationship over a period of time. If a seller deals with the same seller frequently, trust is being built. A relationship that will lead to bond, contract, and stronger market relationship. Number 2, it has a greater commitment from the buyer and the seller. A committed buyer will not easily transfer or deal with other sellers. Thus, this favors the sellers more. Number 3, allows strong reliance to each other when it comes to orders and payments. Since the buyer and the seller has a relationship, they depend on each other regarding the orders and the payments. It is hand-on-hand journey in the market. Number 4, comes with more discounts and flexibility in the schedule of payments. This advantage favors the buyer more because the buyer can get more discounts, more deals, and the buyer can actually choose on how to settle the payment. Number 5, establishes trust between the buyer and the seller. When there is trust, there is relationship and there will be growth on both sides. Last but not the least, allows sharing of market information or knowledge between the buyer and the seller. When a seller trusts the buyer, surely it will benefit the buyer because he or she will get the freshest information in the market. Here are the disadvantages of long-term relationship. Involves a high level of commitment and work. In order to keep and maintain the relationship, a lot of work needs to be done and things to consider, especially on the part of the seller because the customer is the blood of the business and it takes a lot of sweat to keep a customer and one single mistake to lose them. Number 2, involves accurate forecasts about the future performance and needs of both businesses. The long-term relationship has future plans to improve the business of each other, the buyer's business and the seller's business. To wrap it up, the disadvantages of a buyer and seller's short-term relationship are more than its advantages, while the advantages of a buyer and seller's long-term relationship are more than its disadvantages. That is the reason why building a good relationship between the buyer and the seller is one of the goals of most businesses. Once you are done, please answer the 60-minute formative assessment in Edmodo 4.7, due on April 21, 2020 at 7 in the evening. Thank you very much.